All right, everybody, we are live right now. I believe it says it's live, so here we are. How's it going, everybody? eCom Tom here with another live coming at you guys. I brought on one of my students right now that is doing the best so far, I believe, out of anybody out there. He has just hit or recently hit 50,000 in sales. He's been on the channel before. His name is Joe Cox. But before we get into introducing him or anything about it, always, of course, please ask your questions if you have any while we're, going. And also, we are running the last chance promotion on the eBay dropshipping course for $200 off for the July 4th promotion. There was a bunch of issues with the links that we had and everything like that when we first launched it on Friday and Saturday. So we did decide to extend it to today and, really try to maximize the chance that you guys can get in there. And, we've had a lot of students already take advantage of it. So I hope anybody that is interested can hop on as well. Also, the VA course is discounted. We just threw that in there for $50 off. So everybody that's in here, that's watching right now, please state who you are, where you're from, if you've started manual eBay dropshipping yet. And, yeah, let's get into it. So we have Joe Cox here. He was on a live. When were you on the live? Like a month and a half ago?
Yeah, something like that.
So I believe it was back in April. No, not April. That was a while ago. May, maybe.
Yeah.
And that was when he hit 30,000 in sales. And I believe that was like your third month drop shipping. Was it when you hit 30,000?
Yeah, it was my third month with manual drop shipping. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, since then, you have what now? 3 stores you said going?
Yeah, I got 3 stores going. One, the original main store is still up, and then I've got 2 more that I use with just one supplier each.
There you go. So you got 3 stores going. One of them did just hit 50,000 in sales. That it was pretty recently, right? It was about like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was. It stayed that way for about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks,
until a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So if you want to explain to people, obviously, well, first off, introduce yourself and we'll get into what happened to your store. I mean, nothing really bad has happened, but there's always issues with eBay dropshipping or anything in general in business. There's always going to be some sort of roadblock that comes in the way or gets in the way of anything. And, it's kind of your job as the business owner to take care of it, fix it, and really get to back up and running again. So if you want to introduce yourself for everybody that's watching right now, we've got 22 people watching, and then we can really get into the meat and potatoes of this live.
Yeah, so I'm Joe Cox, and got into drop shipping at the beginning of this year, but did not know what the heck I was doing. I had a lot of experience with eBay before that. Was actually thrifting, yard sales, stuff like that, selling stuff online. And as you know, I think that's where everybody starts probably. And
I'm pretty sure, that's what everybody's season starts with.
For sure, and it's a lot more work, unnecessarily so, more work, and a lot less money to be made. So I was looking for ways to maximize the income. I had actually left my job that was really kind of sucking my life away. And I've got 3 kids, so I wanted to spend more time with my family. So I left my job. I was making about $100,000 a year, and just wanted to replace that income. But now that I've had some success, I want to do way more than replace that income. But so ran across you, Tom, on YouTube, and right away bought the course, bought the VA course as well, and then started messaging you, and we've kind of been in contact ever since then. And the first month, it's kind of hard to remember now because I've been doing so many things with it. But I think the first month was, I think I did 10 or 12,000 the very first month. The second month I was just shy of 30. And on the third month we did hit 30. But now we're rolling about 50 each month, and I'm trying to get it on up there to about 70. But yeah, that's kind of my story, and glad to be on the channel again, man. Thanks for having me for another live.
Yeah, no problem. And also, I forgot, he also does have his own YouTube channel. I forgot to link it down below, but I will after this, after the live. So anybody that is watching this right now will actually see it, or watching it later will actually see it. So we'll get you some followers or subscribers there. Get your name out there a little bit more.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
And so when you first started, I mean, for everybody else that's watching out here, I'm sure there's a lot of people that haven't started or are beginners getting started, not sure what to do, or maybe they've been selling on a flagged account and, with everything going on, or maybe they just didn't want to take the leap into manual eBay dropshipping. They don't believe in it. What would you say was the number one, thing you did to get you up and running as quickly as possible with manual eBay dropshipping? What steps did you take, and, what was your mentality behind it?
Yeah, totally. Well, the first thing was I just chose not to listen to people that seemed like they didn't know what they were talking about. I mean, there's so much bad advice on the internet. There's a lot of, gurus, so to speak. out there teaching people how to do eBay drop shipping that claim that manual's not the way and all that. I tried some of that. That's when I say I was in the season that I didn't know what I was doing. And just wasn't making any money. I mean, just couldn't make any money. And then I also had problems with eBay because I was using softwares connected to my account. So I would just say, like, the thing that really got me going was finally found information I could trust. And then, Tom, you guys had actual, screenshots of your sales figures and other people's sales figures, so you could see that, it was real. And then the other thing was, like, I'd say the key that really got me up and running was I worked really hard at it. When I first started, it was pretty much all I did around the clock.
I've noticed that. I mean, if for anybody that's watching and thinks that getting these numbers is easy, I mean, getting sales is easy. Getting a decent amount of sales, maybe 10,000 a month, is pretty easy. But as you get higher and like more sales, you want to bring more sales in, you need to start hiring out and also having systems put in place. That's really what hiring, or why I always preach hire virtual assistants, hire virtual assistants, hire virtual assistants, because you cannot be running this on your own. No business that has ever grown to an extreme size of any degree has ever really been run by a one-man show. I mean, I'm sure there is some, outliers out there, but for the most part, it just doesn't make sense to run it as a one-man show. It's not feasible. So one thing you did do right off the bat as well, before we get into some questions, because I do see that there are a decent amount of questions here building up, but before we get into any of that, when did you hire your first virtual assistant? Because I always get this question, like, Tom, I've been doing this for X amount of time, or I do this many sales or something like that. And when, like, I hired mine right off the bat because I saw that, the course that I was in, or the teacher that I was listening to kind of, was always preaching hire virtual assistants. And I read the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, or only like half the book, but I read half of it, and to the point where he talks about virtual assistants. And, I really realized that is the way to go. You're utilizing cheap labor. It's not like you're paying them wages that they can't live off of. It's just the way the money works across the world. You're paying them livable wages, but to you, it's a lot cheaper than hiring an American worker wherever you're from. And, while you're sleeping, they're working, as long as if they're in like the Asia part of the world, while you're sleeping, they're working, and you're just getting so much more work done. So when did you hire or decide to hire your first one? And then how many do you have right now?
Yeah, man, that's a question I get asked by people all the time who find my YouTube channel and send me questions and emails and whatnot. I would say it's the most important key to my success besides just the hard work. I hired my first VA the day I launched. I mean, I don't even think I had any items listed on the store when I hired her, because I was not thinking, like, I didn't want to start small. Obviously I wanted to scale up at a reasonable pace, but I wasn't thinking, I just want to make a couple $100. I was thinking I want to make 6-figure income as quickly as possible. So I hired her right away. And actually, she's still with me. She was my very first one. She's a freaking rock star. I got lucky on the first one, man. But if I had not have done that, I don't think I could have been at 50,000 in sales yet, because almost everything on my store, my VAs have sourced those items. And now at this point, they do everything. I mean, I basically deal with the store if there's a problem, but other than that, I don't really do much with it. I just coach VAs. That's my job now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I texted you like that week when I hired her. I was like, hey, listen, I don't know if this is unorthodox or not, but I hired a VA today. Well, I'm really glad I did too.
Yeah, of course. I
have 3 full-time VAs now.
There you go. So you have customer service completely outsourced, right?
Yeah. One VA handles all customer service.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest ones I've seen people have issues with. But I mean, once that gets fully taken care of, like with my Amazon store, I went multiple months without even looking at Amazon. I'll tell you that. Like, I looked at it, I was like, okay, no negative feedbacks today, no A to Z claims, we're good to go. And then just moved on to the next day. Or sometimes I wouldn't check it for a couple days. And she was just a rock star on top of it, just doing everything like you say. And I mean, it really just makes my life that much easier because it's running in the background, it's making decent money. And it's there. It's paying the bills. It's paying stuff. And then, everything else is just on top of it. Everything else that I have going on. Exactly. So let's get into some questions here because I can see that we've already had enough build up. So Music Media is in our course and says, Tom, I just got my first negative feedback from a buyer who saw the receipt. She tells everyone where it came from and how much it was marked up. Dropped me down to 87%. eBay wouldn't remove it. Advice. I mean, since you already called eBay and they wouldn't remove it, I mean, the best thing you can do is, first off, what I would have done right off the bat would have been reasoning with her and just being like, all right, you saw the price on the receipt. I'm sorry, or just make up like an excuse. One thing I've said before in the past is that my supplier like ran out of product and I had to source it quickly. So I found it online and I sent it to you. Anything like that, kind of just a made up story, kind of BSing them. And then really just try to, if they really are mad, offer them the price of what it actually was. So just give them everything, make sure just at least break even on it. And then if not, even just offer her $5 or $10 extra to make sure that she doesn't leave a negative feedback or removes the negative feedback. You can ask them to remove it afterwards. One thing I always do is if they say there's something like broken or dented, this doesn't have anything to do with them leaving the negative feedback about, the supplier. But if it's broken or it's dented, I'll go back to my supplier, say, hey, it's broken or dented. They'll give me, say, like $35 back on the item. I'll offer the person first $20. And if they're okay with $20, first off, then you got an extra $15 in your pocket. But that also covers you if they see that something else is broken or damaged somewhere down the line. You can offer them the extra $15 on top of that. That's something I literally did the other day, and it really helped me out. So I would say that that's probably what you should do. Try to reason with them if you still have a chance, and just kind of go from there. Do you have any other advice on that, Joe?
Yeah, something I do a lot of times is I'll just, if you go to the order page for that item, you can get the phone number. I would call that buyer.
Yeah.
Because something I've found is that people are less likely to be extremely rude to you on the phone than they are via eBay Messenger.
They're keyboard warriors on the computer.
Yeah, man. And they get sweet as pie when you call. I would call and I would say, hey, listen, here's what's up. I made a mistake in the listing process, and I listed an item that I didn't have it anymore. And just give them a reason. I didn't have the item, and the last thing I wanted to do was inconvenience you by canceling the order. So, like you said, Tom, I went out and I just bought it from a retailer, and I sent it to you, and it happened to be a little bit less than what I had it listed for. So that's what went down, and you'd have to be a pretty crappy person at that point to not be willing to go, oh, okay, I'll change the feedback.
Yeah, every time that's a great point, because anytime I always call people from Amazon, because Amazon, there's higher repercussions, obviously, if you get a negative feedback or anything against your account. But I literally had my supplier send the person a complete wrong item the other day, and they opened up a return case right away. And I messaged the supplier. I was like, this is definitely the wrong item was sent. The person wasn't messaging me, and their email that they had their Amazon account connected to was it was a dead email. It wasn't a real email. You get a little red message back every time you send a message to them saying this email isn't working. It's been bounced back by the provider. I was like, this is like bouncing a check, but I was bouncing an email, and the lady was definitely getting upset. So I called her, and it was funny because I was driving through Utah at the time, and she's actually from Utah, and I just drove past her hometown. Oh, wow. And she was like, oh my God, that's so funny. That's so cool. Like, we're having a party later. If you were coming by, if you were in town, I would have asked you to come by. That's awesome. Was so cool. She was like the owner of a bar, and she honestly literally just didn't care. She just sent me the pictures through text message, and I just got everything figured out, and she got her thing, and that was it. It was pretty good. So we got some other questions here. Jameson Griffith says he's watching from Tennessee. Joe's also in Tennessee. Wow.
Yeah.
So Kevin Garepi says, sup Tom, thanks for having this. We talked on Instagram yesterday. Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. I mean, people hit me up on Instagram nonstop, but I do answer every single person on Instagram. At least I try to. Jameson Socials here. What's up, man? What's up, Anthony? How's it going? So Jameson asks, does your course show how to set up SKU without connecting to API? Yes. So there is a whole entire section on SKU how to set it up without connecting to the API. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what SKU is, it is a repricing tool. It is going to also monitor the stock of your items. So if your item goes in and out of stock, it's going to do that as long as it catches it in the right amount of time. Also, it's going to reprice your items if there's a change in price or anything like that. So there's 4 different ways that SKU can do that. One's extremely manually, where it just gives you a file and you have to personally upload it yourself. One is through the Chrome extension that they've created about a year ago, and that is what I use and I teach my students to use, and that's what Joe uses as well. And then there's 2 other connections that are API-related connections that I don't teach, I don't do. I've done it before in the past just to check, and my account got flagged from it. It was way back like 7 months ago as an experiment. It was just a brand new account, so I just stopped ever attempting to do that. So it covers all the bases, everything you need to know, and basically everything about SKU because it is a very robust and confusing program at first, but really once you get it, once you get it down pat, I love it. I personally love it. And I know you might have a little bit of mixed feelings about it, Joe, but it really depends on how you treat it and what you're trying to do with the program.
I would say that it's the only option. And, Yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's like anything else. Things happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, in my experience, they're really good at responding to your cases if you have a problem. And I had a big issue lately. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure. And they got me fixed up pretty fast. So yeah, I love SKU Grid.
Yeah, it's a great program, and also just the fact that it has so many suppliers is really what I love about it, because you can just go out one day, find a brand new supplier that's absolutely killing it. Like I found one for Amazon to drop ship on Amazon recently, and also eBay if I wanted to. And I was like, wow, this is it. This is the one right here, and it's only on SKU Grid is the only like actual repricing tool that covers it. So Christian says, hey, Joe, what kind of things are you doing to differentiate yourself from the competition in order to drive more sales, i.e. variations, bulks, bundles, anything like that? So what's your answer to that?
I put all that on my VAs. I tell them I want to stay differentiated. I'm pretty sure the thing they do, the primary things we're doing now is we do multi-packs, anything that people would like to have 3 of or 6 of or 7 of. We do bundles. Right now, I don't mind sharing this because, I mean, whatever. There's tons of people drop shipping. So, but, we're getting ready for school supplies coming up. So we're doing like some school supply bundles. I expect those to do really well. I try to think about what's coming up. Like 4th of July was coming up. So I sold a lot of 4th of July type stuff and I bundled it together. But, for me, I don't worry too much about that stuff. I mean, I think my sales are probably as good as as most drop shippers, and the only thing we're doing to be different at all is multi-packs and bundles.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the number one way to go about it, but it's also very powerful in that way as well, because there's just so many different things you can do. And at that point, bundles pretty much makes it endless opportunity. If you think about it, there's tons of different suppliers. And now that SKU Grid actually did just release their bundle through SKU Fetch to the public, because I had been just beta testing that for a while. Now they released that to the public, I can go put a video in the course about it as well on how to do that, because I had tested it out. It's pretty cool and everything, but I was like, I need to wait until it actually gets released to the public. But I remember I did see like a week ago, maybe, or a couple days ago, that they did actually release it. So I'm excited to actually put that in there as well. There's also a few other things I want to put inside the course to really get people on the right track as fast as possible, because I've seen that there's always like a few mistakes that people make right off the bat that I want to really try to address.
Yeah.
So where are we? So Miguel Campuzano says, what things can you do to increase your item standing in search results? So that's pretty much the same thing, but what would you say is the number one differentiator that sets, brings your items to the top compared to others?
I don't know if this brings them to the top or not, but the first thing that comes to mind is I have a really, really high feedback rating at this point, because we've sold thousands and thousands of items. I don't know if that ranks us higher, but it definitely attracts buyers. And the only way to do that is just get more sales, just keep plugging at it. I mean, we promote all of our listings, and the real reason we do that at this point is just to make sure we're not flagged. It helps us to watch and see how eBay's treating us. But I would say if you're starting out, I don't know how you feel, Tom. I'd love to hear what you say about this, because maybe I'll change my strategy. But I would say start promoting at like 2 or 3%, and just plan on taking that off your profit, but it'll really get your sales going.
Yeah, it's basically everything that I've been talking about recently, is just right off the bat, start promoting your items at, I usually do 3%. So 3%, 4%, really depends on what you want your front end margin to be and what you're willing to accept for an overall margin after. The majority of your items when you first start are going to go through promoted listings. I noticed when I started my new store like 2 months ago, it was, I think the first month, it was like 60% of the items went through promoted listings, those sales, but those are sales on items that probably wouldn't have happened otherwise. And they got pushed that way for a reason, because they were promoted. Yeah. So now that listing has a higher chance of selling later on down the road. You can then eventually lower the promoted listing or even take it away if you want. And then now your item's closer to the top of the actual, that keyword or that phrase or that title is at the top. And now you're making organic sales. If you've seen some of those, like if anybody here has been researching or doing like research on Zik Analytics through manual, sellers out there, some of them have been around since like 2017, 2016, that really have never gone into the automated software. And you can tell because they have small amounts of items. They don't really have that high of a feedback for what they've been doing for so long. but you'll notice that some of these people have listings, and you look up the title and their listing's been there since 2016. It's sold 500, 600 times. It's sitting at the top. It's a variation. You know, they have the listing pretty much done to the nines. It's the best listing out there, and nobody is going to buy any other listing except for that one because they're just pinned at the top, and you really can't do anything about that except try to scrape some other sales by like really, really, really undercutting them. You'll notice they'll even have it like 10, 15, 20% front end margin on some of these items, and they're just killing it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really all about getting the initial sales velocity, really making sure your titles, your item specifics, your description is everything's as, you know, well put together, looks as nice as possible. And then from there, you can edit images if you want, which is technically against eBay, but there's so much of it out there. There's no way that they're actually like going after it. And then from there, other things like promotions, promoted listings, not bundles, but what is it? Just value, whatever. When you buy 2, you can get a specific percentage off, anything like that. You know, it's just all sorts of different ways to go about it.
Yeah.
So Jesus Martinez says, love the content and course. Thank you very much. I fell below standard on eBay due to some errors with my listing. Everything has been corrected. Any tips on raising the standard rating? What I would do is, I mean, really it sucks when you fall below standard. And I mean, what I would do is first off, call eBay and try to take off as many cases as possible. And I know you've done this before, Joe, and I want to go into what I've done before, because back when I was doing automated Amazon onto eBay last year, there was obviously a lot more mistakes and cases and things that came up, and I got in a lot more trouble a lot more frequently. And at one point in time, I literally had a lady say that she would take off a lot of my cases due to a courtesy because I told her I didn't know the rules, or this specific rule change that happened like 2 months ago was kind of a lie. But she took off 10 cases against me that made me fall below standard. She took off 10 of them as a courtesy right away, right off the bat. And I've had that happen multiple times. First off, when I first started, I canceled a bunch of items the wrong way, like 5 of them. And I got those. I was like, hey, I actually didn't know the rules then. But I was like, hey, I don't know the rules, what's going on. And she like took them all off. And I've had that happen many a times. So if you can plead your case, there's a good chance you can get a lot of them removed to be in better shape a lot quicker. And then from there, I mean, you're just going to want to try to sell as much as possible to try to and not make any mistakes when you're selling like that, and really try to make sure that you are making your account move towards the above standard at least.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, I was looking at my seller hub, and I saw that if we evaluated you today below standard, and Tom, you remember, I freaked out, completely freaked out.
Always so quick to freak out.
I'm a big freak out guy. But yeah, I did just that. It was just 3 cases, and they were actually, one of them was totally not legit, and I didn't know it wasn't legit. The buyer was actually completely wrong. So that one was automatically taken off. The other 2, they said they'd have to investigate. They didn't follow up with me at all. And then 3 days later, they were gone too. And I was back, it said above standard again. So yeah, just call.
Yeah. And the number one thing to always do is call. And I feel like it's the number one thing people don't always think about is just calling, plead your case. That's the best part about selling on eBay. You can't do that with Amazon. There's no way in hell you can do that with Amazon. You're going to talk to somebody in Costa Rica, and they're going to say, oh, they're going to listen to everything you say you're right, and then just tell you to email this one email that will never get seen. So that, and then you do that, and then you just wasted your time. You literally will not get anything done if you try to call on Amazon. The number one advantage of selling on eBay, and why I always suggest for people that are just starting, or anybody here that's just watching now hasn't really got started, always start with eBay, because you get your feet wet. You can call if you make a mistake, and they'll actually reason with you. I mean, don't go out there and say, yeah, I was drop shipping from Amazon onto eBay and this happened. Like, nowadays, that's not kosher. I have a whole video on that, on what to say when you call in the course, and also on YouTube. But the number one advantage is that you can call in, get a real person. And I teach inside of the course also the secret number to call, so you can get an American every single time, even though like most people aren't supposed to actually be able to talk to them. They don't check. And then you call them. You actually have like a highly trained customer service rep that you can plead your case to, and either, you know, they agree with you or they tell you why you were wrong. And that's definitely the number one advantage, I would say, to selling on eBay at the moment in 2019. So Lazy Abrams here. How's it going, Lazy Abrams? He's been on literally every live for the past like 10, 15 lives. It's crazy. That's crazy dedication. Jameson says, Social says, I'm curious, when using your obscure suppliers, Do you start on the source and search for those items on eBay, or do you search key terms on eBay, then look for those items at the sources? So, I mean, what I do is I always try to, and I've talked about this in many videos, is every obscure supplier, almost every supplier out there has their own brand of some sort. Most retail suppliers will have their own brand. Walmart has mainstays. Home Depot is one of the only ones that can sell Ryobi, and they also have their own brands as well. From there, once you figure out what the specific brands are of that obscure supplier or whatever, then you can really be able to pinpoint if somebody's selling that on eBay, then it's obviously coming from that supplier. So if somebody's selling mainstays on eBay or mainstays on Amazon, then you know it's coming from Walmart. Walmart doesn't sell on eBay and Amazon. They only sell on Walmart, but Walmart specific private label brands are all over eBay and Amazon because people are drop shipping it. So I always try to find those private label brands. That's my number one go-to. That's what I provide everybody in the course. If they have brands, I find them and I put it inside of the course. The newest list of 10, I put in a pretty in-depth, like just breakdown spreadsheet of it. And from there also, if it's more of like a wholesaler or just a weirder supplier out there, I'll just start searching items. Like if it's, most wholesalers will have these like weird, obscure items that you know probably won't be found anywhere else. So I just start searching the titles of the items in eBay, and from there you can usually find something or try to, narrow down which path to go. Do you have any input on that as well?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I mean, I'll just I'll use, like you said, use the brand name, find the item in eBay that looks just like it's a drop shipper, and then I'll go to Zik with that drop shipper's eBay name and see how they're doing. And if they're killing, I'll basically list everything they've got.
Yeah, and then once you find that one person, it's pretty easy to go and find other people that are also selling that specific supplier. And then from there, you just add them all to your watch list on Zik. You can then now just pick through them whenever you want. You can pick through them every month, every week, every day. If you really want, check their newest items, what's being put up. I mean, Zik does have a little bit of a delay behind it, so you can actually go into their eBay store on eBay as well, pick through it. I mean, I usually do that. A decent amount, even still to this day, because I'll be like, all right, who's new on this supplier? Or, if I find a new supplier, I want to test it out before my VAs. Check, make sure, I can remain profitable with what I'm given right now. If not, then figure out what they're doing or what their trick is or where they're getting their items. It's all about really just trying to break it down. It's kind of just like a detective game of what's happening, who's doing what, how are they getting these prices, and where are these items coming from. It's basically the majority of what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
So I listed Nitesh Rad says, I listed a product last week and still didn't get a sale. I'm doing promoter listings. Should I run promotions? If you said that you listed a product last week and you didn't get a sale, I would suggest listing more products. Definitely have more than one item up. I aim, if you're very, very, very new to this, wait till you have at least 25 items up. And if you don't have a sale after 25, I would say either you're priced way too high or you're doing something way too wrong. Do you have any input on that as well, Joe?
I have a student of mine that follows my YouTube channel, and she sent me a message the other day and was like, I haven't had any sales yet. And I was thinking, man, what's going on? Because she's been doing this for weeks.
Yeah.
And then, like as I talked to her, I found out she only had 30 items listed. So the same deal. Like this is kind of a volumes game. You've got to have a lot of items if you expect to have sales. In that first sale, obviously, it could just take one item, but why wait? We'll go ahead and list as many items as possible.
Throw up as many as possible. Try to stay as competitively priced as possible. Don't be like, you can be in the ballpark. Like on Amazon, they tell you'll get the buy box if you're within plus or minus 5% of the person in the buy box. So, with anything in life, within plus or minus 5%, you'll probably make a sale. eBay, Amazon, wherever. But if you're over there like 25% higher than the other person, don't expect somebody to go and pick out your item for some ungodly reason. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So Smut God says, yo, Tom, I'm in your course, $500 in sales in the first week. That's awesome, dude. Keep it up. Let's make it 5,000 in a month and then 5,000 in a week. Get you on the channel. I want to have as many people as possible on the channel. I want to try to do at least one student per week, maybe on every Friday, and just try to bring on every student, a student that's doing at least 15, 20,000 in sales, and really just talk about their strategies. Because I've noticed everybody has a different strategy to this. At least their own little strategy. Everything's pretty much the same, but everybody adds their own little flair to it, which is the cool and unique part about any form of business. Parker Shannon says, Tom, what is your latest course what is your latest course available and what is the price? So right now we are running a promotion, as I said earlier in this live, but I know there are more people watching right now. We are running a promotion. It's the last day of the promotion. It's the July 4th promotion, but we did have a problem with our links earlier on Friday and Saturday that we didn't realize happened until we fixed it like mid-Saturday. So we extended the promotion till today. It's $200 off the manual eBay dropshipping course, which is 70 videos long, over 70 videos, and over 13 hours of content. There's also like 5 pre-formatted Excel sheets for item sourcing, returns tracking, items not received tracking, all sorts of different cases tracking, customer service scripts, how to upload all your items right into SKU Grid right away, and also the private Facebook group where everybody, that's the most active group I've ever been in, honestly. There's people commenting and posting, and I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible every day. It's a wild community at the moment. I love it. And seeing everybody's success in there. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I love the Facebook group, man.
Oh yeah, it's the best. And so yeah, one thing is it's $200 off, like I said, so it's $297 tonight only. And also the virtual assistant course is $50 off, so it'll be $99. And that's about 4 hours long, 30 videos on how to hire and really make sure that you get a great virtual assistant right off the bat, which I do think is everybody's number one issue with VAs. They'll hire one, realize they're not good because they didn't hire them correctly, fire them, or like hold them on to them for a month, not fire them in fast enough, fire them eventually, hire another bad one, hold on to them for too long, fire them eventually. It's just a repetitive process that I've really tried to avoid and narrow down to the point where you get a good one your first time. So where are we? Kevin says, will this live be available after it's done? Yes, all of these lives are available after they're done. They get loaded up to YouTube right away. eCom Tomcat's in the house. How's it going, Tom? Go smash that like button. He says, thank you very much. And if you haven't already, we've got 48 people watching and not 48 likes. So please give it a thumbs up here for me and Joe. Samuel Bell says he's from Kansas City. There you go. Christian says, wait, what, Tom? You were invited to party with one of your customers. Oh yeah. Yes. That was actually something that was said. Yes. eCom Tomcat. This is a good one. Said, I saw that TrackerBot will now connect in a non-API way. Can you talk about that? So have you been using it, Joe, or did they ask you to use it?
They asked me to use it several times. I actually just got a message from the guy while we're on this live.
Oh.
And they want me to test it out. And I think I will. I just haven't because it's one of my VAs. It's their job to provide tracking. And I don't, it's not really going to save me any money.
Yeah.
I might actually do it, but yeah.
So I tested it out because I'm for the people and that's what I do. I've been using it for the last week and a half, I believe. At first, there's a few issues with it. As always with anything in beta, I was testing it out. It was always pretty good right off the start, but there was a few issues. I talked to Valentin. Valentin's the owner of TrackerBot. He got all the issues fixed. So far at the moment right now, I have no issues with it. It's extremely powerful. It's great when it does. It's basically spot and paste. If you guys don't know what spot and paste is, it's the copy and pasting tool for people's addresses and everything like that can help you order a lot quicker. It's basically that. All it does is it connects to your email the way TrackerBot used to, so that's not anything to do with the eBay's API. It checks, makes sure, oh, all right, you got this order, here's the tracking number. It then uploads it into a Chrome extension, which, it just does in the background magically. From there, when you log into eBay, it's going to show next to each little order you have when you're on your orders page, like a little blue mark next to it if the tracking's in TrackerBot. From there, all you have to do is right next to where spot and paste pops up at the top of your orders page, it shows up right next to it and just says, like, if you have 22 orders pending, it'll say like 11 out of 22 ready to upload tracking. All you have to do is just click upload now. It clicks all 11 of them, brings it to like the tracking uploading page, a bulk tracking uploading page, which a lot of people don't know you can even do. I didn't really even know you could do it, but you can if you just check multiple at once. And then it just uploads it. It just shoots everything in there automatically. Of course, I would double check it the first few times. Check the first one, the middle one, and the last one. If they all match, then you're good. Do that a couple times until you're okay with doing it on your own without checking. But yeah, everything's always worked and it's pretty good. So I'm going to do a video on it probably Wednesday or Friday and just launch that, talk about it, show how it works. It's pretty great. And it's definitely very simple. It's like a 2-step process.
Tom, does it convert the tracking numbers to Blue Care Express or no?
I don't know because I'm not using Amazon onto eBay. So I'm not sure. It might, but I honestly don't know about that. Yeah. But if I click on it right now, I believe it does because it does say how many BCE trackings are there. Mine says 0 out of 500, but I'm sure it does work that way.
Cool.
So Music Mania says, thank you both. She won't budge, but I haven't called her yet. So give her a call, see what happens. Well, what's the worst that could happen? Can you temporarily do nothing? Says, can you get temporarily restricted from delisting too many items? I've never heard of that. Just delist as many items as you want for whatever reason. If you're delisting it to try to start over manually on that account, if it's been flagged, because I've heard of people trying to do that, just don't waste your time. Just start a brand new account. Just delist all those items, start a brand new account, because you cannot get an account unflagged. From anything I've ever seen, I've never seen anybody actually provide legitimate proof of it happening, and it's never happened to me. You've never heard of it, have you?
No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a thing. So Matthew Poole says, hello. Greg Endem says, I know verbal is always better, but what is the primary way you communicate with your VAs? So my VAs, I use Slack. It's not advanced, but it's decently advanced. I mean, I started off with like Skype message because a lot of them use Skype, or WhatsApp because a lot of them use WhatsApp or WeChat. I've heard of people using Facebook Messenger. I use Facebook Messenger with a few of them because they're on Facebook all the time, and I don't really need to talk to them every day. But the ones that I want to talk to every day, I use Slack, Slack, and it's used by a lot of big businesses. It's really just a way to communicate via projects or whatever projects you're on. So you could say, hey, this is the eBay Slack where you have all your eBay VAs in there. This is the Amazon Slack. This is the eBay customer service Slack, where it's just you and your customer service VA within your eBay, Slack. It's pretty cool. And I know you use something, Joe. So if you want to explain what you use.
We are actually moving into Slack. We still message over Skype, but we have a content management system for all of our record keeping, all of our sales, our prices, all the links, everything, our source products, everything. But we're going to move to, and we're all on Slack, but we're all on Skype, but we're going to move to Slack because it integrates with our content management system so that everything is just linked together. So we're kind of in that process right now. But yeah. I've actually used Slack extensively where I worked before I got into e-commerce. At my job, we had like 50 employees, and we were all on Slack, and it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, a ton of people use Slack, tons of startups, tons of companies, and you can integrate it, like you said, with anything. You can integrate it with Google Sheets. I literally have my Slack give me a notification in Slack every single time I get a sale on Amazon. So every time I get a sale on Amazon, it goes into Slack, it goes and registers a sale. From there, I can have a VA checking the sales all day. Other things like that. Once you get high level that really automating things like that, it's the world is your oyster, and it's endless opportunities.
Yeah, man.
So Jameson Social says, how are you keeping track of the price correctly on SKU Grid if you're creating bundle listings or multi-pack listings? So inside of the course, I do teach how to do multi-packs, and it's just the way that you code SKU Grid's pricing equation. So there's multiple ways to do it, depending on what the shipping charges are and everything like that. But inside of the course, I do break it down. It's basically just the way that you code the what do they call it? The pricing formula for SKU Grid. So you can override your original one per each item, and you can really go in there and start messing with it and tinkering with it. That's where the math comes into play, and that's what I really like to do. You start tinkering with it, play around with the actual equation, and lo and behold, eventually you'll have it priced at, where you can just change it to 2, 3, 4, whatever you want your multi-pack to be. And, there's really no difference. Besides that, for bundles, before they released their actual bundling program, it was kind of hard to do so, but they did just put out on SKU Fetch a way to actually do bundles and get them onto eBay. So that is definitely what I would suggest doing. So Christian says, do you have your VAs set up bundles and multi-pack images for your listings? What do you do for that, Joe?
Yeah, I do have my VAs do it. When I hired my second VA, that was something I required, was that they had Photoshop skills, because I knew I was going to be needing that. So yeah, when they source the products, they also just go ahead and create the images. And we actually have like you said earlier, eBay technically is not supposed to allow this, but I've never had a problem. We actually have a watermark we put on our images just to differentiate a little bit. So they're editing every photo of every listing, but yeah, when we have multi-packs, they create those too.
Yeah, it's definitely the best way to go about it. I lost my place here. All right, Lingasa says, hi, Tom. Was curious if the suppliers in your course accept non-US PayPal, or if they deal with gift cards, because I am from Morocco. So there are a few in there that do accept PayPal and, gift cards as well. I haven't really totally broken down which ones do which, but I know there's at least probably 5 out of the 20 that do. But from there are a bunch of internationals inside of the course, and you can just ask them questions about what they're doing and how they're finding their success. We do have one person from the Czech Republic that's actually killing it. He's tax exempt on just about all of his suppliers. He's doing very well with his sales and everything. And I want to eventually have him on the channel because I feel like there's a lot of limiting beliefs out there for people that are internationals saying, oh, we can't get tax exempt, we can't do this. But in reality, you can. It just takes a little bit longer to do so. If you started the process 4 weeks ago, you'd probably already be well on your way. But so there's that. Where else are we? Tom just asked that one. Wait, Tom, does your course? Tom, does your course teach how to bundle, multi-pack, and differentiate from your competitors? So yes, I have a whole video on multi-packing, and as I said earlier, we are going to add a video on bundling now that it did just become a thing on SKU Grid for the general public. So we'll be able to put that out there and really just teach everything you need to know. I mean, besides bundling, multi-packs, editing images and anything like that, there's really no other. There's a few other tricks, and I'll probably end up leaking them eventually, but it's some high level stuff that I'm still experimenting with. So over time, it should get released once I fully, perfect the magic or the skill. What do you say when you're asked by an eBay customer service rep, where do you source your items from? What do you say, Joe?
Man, for the longest time, I just said I have a wholesale supplier, and that was always sufficient. One day I got caught off guard. I was calling to ask for a limit increase, and they asked me that, and I said the wholesale supplier. And then she said, what's the name and website of the wholesale supplier? And I was like, oh, crap, I wasn't prepared. So I just hung up and just called right back. Something I've been doing, I don't know if anybody else is doing this or not, but I just actually tell them I've got a local manufacturer in my hometown here where I live that provides me my products, and then they don't ask me the name at all. So that's what I've been doing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, now here's the thing too, though. Like, you obviously get to the point where you don't have to call eBay anymore and ask for limit increases because you get to the point where you have a huge limit. But once or twice, I have, maybe every month or two, I got to call in and I just say that. I'm like, hey, I've got a local manufacturer that provides sporting goods equipment, and I buy it from them wholesale.
It's pretty funny because if they actually did look anything at your listings, they'd probably be like, all right, well, that's not true.
I know.
Or
yeah, it's never
true. But yeah, I always suggest, say, wholesale suppliers. I've heard of people saying the local manufacturers thing as well, but not, a lot less often. But also I've never been asked, but I know Jason has, about like, oh, what's the name of the supplier? And, a few students have said that they've been asked that as well. Just say something out there, find a wholesale supplier, actually get accepted by that wholesale supplier. Why not go the next 9 yards and get it actually accepted by the wholesale supplier to sell their items? Because then if they actually ask you for proof, then you can actually just provide them a written, agreement or something like that you have with them. I have wholesale contracts with at least 3 that I don't even use at all. And those are just the bigger ones that I know that will cover a large majority of the items. So if they ask like, oh, well, you're selling this, this, and that, this supplier does usually have a bunch of just different items up there where it could be easier to fake. So that's kind of what I suggest. And so they're pretty easy to find. Christian has 4 questions in a row here. I've been getting my fair share of returns. Do you know if service metrics increase still affects your final value fees? Yes, it does. And it's not only 4% anymore, it's 5% extra. eBay reps have been telling me it won't since I've been resolving those with them without them having to step in. I was under impression that it does, but now I'm not sure. How long do you guys think it'll take? All right, that's just a different question. So with the returns, yes, but I don't know how you're doing your returns. If you're doing it through Messenger, no, it won't affect your actual metrics. If they are giving you returns saying like, oh, they just didn't want it anymore, any sort of buyer's remorse type case, no, that doesn't affect your metrics either. It's all for not buyer's remorse related cases saying, the item's broken, didn't match the descriptions, things like that. That's what actually affects you. You can check your service metrics in eBay and they're updated pretty consistently. But yes, the fees are going to be 5% extra in each specific category, gets reevaluated every month. So what's the next one? So he says, how long do you guys think it'll take to set up SKU Grid? What's your opinion on that?
If you've never touched SKU Grid before, it could be a little intimidating. I would say get the course and just go step by step along the videos and set it up that way. It shouldn't take too long at all.
Yeah, the number one thing I always suggest now for anybody, because I realized that, some people don't think this way. This is what I did, but I may have just forgotten to mention it, is put like 2 or 3 items into SKU Grid, make sure that it's working properly, and then start adding more items into SKU Grid that are from your store. Don't just list your entire store into SKU Grid. Realize, hey, all of my items are priced at 50% of what they should be. Start making all these sales, crazy losses, have to cancel all these items. I kind of overlooked that part of it. I didn't think that would happen to people, but it definitely has. In some cases, I've seen people say, "Oh, all my items are priced out of stock. All my items are priced this, priced that. Oh, this was an issue." But if you really just put in a few at a time, test it, you should be good. Eventually, I mean, I set up Jason's SKU Grid for him the other day in literally like 25 minutes max. But I mean, I know what I'm doing. And I've done it so many times. But if you're new, I mean, Christian, if you haven't used it before, it'll probably take a few days to really get down pat. And then from there, I mean, it's just all like little testings and stuff. Make sure if you're going to make a change, do it small. Don't do it big, and then go from there.
Definitely.
So Paul Xiao says, "Hi, Tom. Does the promo code for the 40% off still working?" Yeah. So it's July 4th is the promo code. It's right in the description below. So check that out. And if you put in the code, it's going to be at checkout. So you put it in at checkout, you click apply code or whatever it is, and it'll go from $497 to $297. You'll get the 40% off, and everybody will be happy here. You'll be inside, and you'll be making money in no time. eCom Tomcat says, "How many items does Joe have when he hit? Did Joe have when he hit 50K?" You don't have to say the exact amount, but a ballpark would be,
Yeah, I would say approximately 700.
Okay, 700. I mean, that's not an unachievable amount. If you think about it, if you're not too picky about what you're listing, I'm sure it wasn't 700 like home run items. It's 700 items that have a decently high chance of selling, right?
Yeah. So we're pretty picky, but I mean, I've got 3 VAs, so we're sourcing a lot. I even still source products, so they're doing it all the time, and then sometimes I'll spend time doing it. But we actually purge our store every Friday, so. Okay. Basically, anything that's been listed for 2 weeks and has not sold, we take it out. So
that's a great game plan, honestly.
Yeah, it helps us, keep things fresh and just know what's in our store. But 700 is a lot. We have way more than that now, even because we've got some big goals. But you can. I would say just set a goal like, hey, let's source 20 just winning items a day, 20, and have you or your VAs or whoever's going to be doing it spend the whole day, every day on those 20, and that stacks up pretty fast.
If you think about it, 20 a day for a month is 600.
Exactly.
Out of those 600, let's say 40% of them sell. From there, you've purged off a decent amount. In 3-4 months, you'll probably have a pretty much, and that's basically the time frame it took for you, just doing it extremely religiously to the T and being, I mean, almost neurotic about it, I guess. But like, that's kind of how you have to be when you're first starting if you really want to grow extremely quickly. I've seen people, do well, but not like extremely, extremely well, but do great, like, after work 4 or 5 hours a day for a couple months, and they're up at 20,000 in sales. But also, if you want to take it to the next level, it's going to take next level efforts, whether that's extra VAs, which I always suggest, or just doing it yourself. But I can guarantee you, I have never seen somebody run their store manually by themselves to the T, all SKU Grid and everything. I've never seen them do higher than like 35,000 in sales all by themselves. Customer service, sale, processing orders, returns, everything like that, all by themselves. I've never seen it. I remember it wasn't even recently that I've seen it. It was somebody like probably a year ago that I was talking to on a coaching call that was still doing it, that was doing it manually. I was like, why are you doing it that way? We're all using automated software right now. We're killing it. And then all of a sudden, obviously all that went down the tubes. But I mean, he was putting in a full-time effort, trying to run as minimally and as lean as possible, because SKU Grid's dirt cheap, and a basic eBay store is pretty dirt cheap. Like if your store is over $100 a month cost-wise, I don't know, you're probably doing something wrong. But, it's not expensive. He was trying to be as lean as possible. But at a certain point, you have to realize it's not worth it. You can just hire people out and, get way more done.
Definitely.
So Lazy Abrams says, do you only use suppliers that have tax exemptions for most states, or still use them and figure out your profit with taxes included? Honestly, I only like to use suppliers that have tax exemptions, and I like to use suppliers that are harder to get tax exempt in, or they require extra tax exempt certificates, mainly because I have all those certificates and I know that I can go out, get exempt, and have way less competition and not have to list as many items and not have to like care as much and put as much effort into my stores. And I can build other things, either that, like build up my Amazon store, which I've been doing recently, or, you know, my Instagram or YouTube channel or anything like that. But technically, I mean, I've seen people do it all around, any different type of way, you know, just Walmart onto eBay, Home Depot onto eBay, or just using the other suppliers. You know, it really doesn't matter. But for me personally, that's what I like to do. And if you want to give what you do, Joe, I mean, without giving too much away.
Yeah, I pretty much do exactly what you just said. I don't want to deal with taxes at all. Those farms, every state I need to get from. And what I like about that is, yeah, I mean, it kind of creates a barrier to entry. If you have all of that, you've done all that work on the front end, and you find a great supplier, you'll know that, you know, you're working with a supplier that not everybody else is working with. So
yeah, or not everybody has what it takes to work with, but you know, that takes time. But you know, you haven't been in the game that long. You know, it doesn't take too much time, it just takes dedication and the willingness to go out and do stuff that other people aren't doing, like multi-packs, bundles, other suppliers, getting tax exempt at these weird suppliers, doing other things like that. It's all just, it only takes like a day or a day and a half to really get some of these things down pat, but it's just, you're gonna have to use some outside of the box thinking and just like your noggin a bit. And some people just want to try to go with the straight and narrow, easy, least path of least resistance. And that's why everybody, you know, is kind of complaining, oh, well, what if Walmart onto eBay is saturated? Well, you know, you don't have to do it. There's plenty of other suppliers out there.
Yeah.
So Carl Feldman says, oh, we only got like 8 minutes left. We're probably going to go over the hour. Is your phone going off right now?
Sorry, dude.
So we're going to go over the hour a bit, but Carl Feldman says, PayPal is holding my funds after sales for no reason. They never used to do it. It's slowing me down-ish. How do I get around it? I would call them, honestly. If you're out of PayPal jail and they're doing it, you may have messed up. They may need more paperwork from you or anything like that. I would just call them. Somebody message retracted. So VR says, how many VAs do you have? I personally have probably about 8 or 9 right now, but it's for everything. I mean, there's eBay, Amazon, running Instagram, Facebook, YouTube things, other things like that. Specifically for my stores, only about like 4.5. What about you? You said earlier you have 3, right?
Yeah, I've got 3 right now.
So that's not bad at all. I mean, that's pretty lean running store. Kermel Maltavo says, I Rasta Ken from Puerto Rico here. How's it going? He has the course as well. I hope you're doing well. Pamela says, I'm still in the manual dropshipping game, but I'm stalled at 1,500 or less daily with a flag store. Less than half of that of what I was used to. Would your course help me? Yes, honestly, Pamela, it would, because you would not be selling on a flag store. There's no point in selling on a flag store. We've seen this time and time again for the last 7 months. There's no need to be selling on a flag store. It's not going to work. You're not going to be making any sales, and you're just wasting money. Using the automated softwares cost a lot more. You're probably going to have an anchor store. You're going to have way more listings. If you have over 10,000 listings, you're paying for every one of those listings. If you're paying for a huge plan on Sale Freaks, AutoDS, or whatever out there, that's another couple $300 a month. You're paying for all these extra softwares, and you're not making as much money. You're literally losing money because of it just by running your store. No matter what, if you're making sales, you're probably not making very high profit margins on the front end, where with manual dropshipping, you can make anywhere between, I just made a sale yesterday for 30% margin on the front end, and I had another one for 25. I sold something on Amazon the other day doing the same exact method for a 55% margin. So it really is like a game of margins. And if you're not making high margins on the front end, you're trying to rely on all these sketchy gift cards, cash back, and other things like that on the back end, that should be extra. That should be on top. That should be fluff on top of your profits. It should not be the reason why you're even making money or staying in the game in the first place. It's just not sustainable. Do you have an opinion on that, Joe? Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, you're good. I would totally agree. I wouldn't mess with a flagged store. I mean, there's just no point in it. It's going to waste money. Yeah, I ditto everything you just said.
Yeah. So I'm so wealthy 19 says, how wealthy are you is my real question. 19 says, after you manually list items onto eBay and you figure out their competitive price, do you reprice them manually with eBay or in SKU Grid by changing the profit margin? So repricing based off of a change at the supplier, say the supplier goes up 5, then eBay automatically goes up $5 like that. That's all done by SKU Grid. But if you're talking about repricing based off your competition, I honestly don't really put much merit into it. I just keep my items usually at a pretty consistent profit margin that I know is going to be good. And the reason why some of the margins vary is based off shipping costs, or if they buy two, then, it ends up bundling together a lot better and other things like that. But I don't go in there. I don't think you do either, Joe. Go in there and have your VAs check the margins every day. That's something like Sully teaches or something like that. I think it's too much time and effort. Nobody has the time and effort to go in there. Like on Amazon, you can automatically do that. It's very easy because everybody's under one listing. But on eBay, it's virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Especially if you have 700 listings, Joe, like on that account, who's going to do that?
No, we don't mess with that. Way too time consuming.
You can't even have a VA doing that.
Yeah.
So Patrick McLaughlin says, question for Joe. Does he still fill out all the Excel spreadsheets in your course? It takes a while to fill them out. Do you do that or have your VAs do it?
I mean, you got to use spreadsheets. If you don't stay organized, it's going to be a nightmare. We started out using the spreadsheets from the course. I would recommend everybody just use Tom's spreadsheets. They're perfectly set up fine. Over time, you can let them evolve to your liking. I've changed mine a little bit over time to just work with how I want it to look. But yeah, you need to use those. It's a very important step. You've got to stay organized.
Yeah, that's 100% true. You need the spreadsheets. You need the organization. You need it. If you don't have it and you're letting all these things fall through the cracks, that's where you start losing money and you're selling on a store that isn't even profitable without you even knowing it. Something with the profit sheets. First off, if you're doing back in the day with the automated software, if you're doing 200 sales a day, very hard to keep in a profit sheet. It's very hard to do that every single day or even have a VA do that. But with a manual eBay dropshipping store, you can do 20 sales in a day and hit 3,000 in sales easily. So, that's not very hard to put into a spreadsheet or have a VA do it. Then you're going to be able to track the profit. Then if there's a case that opens up with that item, you can then put a little case mark next to it, or maybe eventually evolve into something more advanced, some third-party software, some sort of order tracking software, something like that, something to keep you extremely organized on every order, because you don't know if you're losing money unless you're actually tracking it. Did you actually get your final value fees back on that return? Did you actually get it back on that refund? What did you get? You gave this person a $10 courtesy gift card or bonus off their item, or courtesy partial refund because, you effed up and you don't want them to give you a negative feedback. Then that's $10 that you don't have. But if you didn't put it into your spreadsheet, then you wouldn't have it. Same thing with listing. How do you know if you're listing the same items or sourcing the same items without a spreadsheet that's tracking all of that? And that's what the spreadsheets inside of the course do for you. And that's what's definitely what needs to be, really, really well driven home for people, because I think organization is definitely what kills the early entrepreneur, I feel.
Yeah.
So where are we? Sasha Sloan says, what is your top suppliers for eBay? I mean, we're not going to go over the top suppliers are all inside of the course. It'd be unfair to the people inside of the course just to name them off. But you can use Walmart onto eBay. You're still going to do well, but obviously you're going to find a lot more competition. But with competition, you're going to find a lot more items that are selling at that specific profit margin or that specific amount of sales per month. It's going to be a lot easier. Where are we? Hey, Joe, can you go over more your CMS? What is that?
Content management system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I use Monday.com. And that's what I was talking about when you were talking about the spreadsheets. It sort of replaced the spreadsheets for me, just because it's a little more searchable, easier for organizational purposes. I wouldn't recommend people do that at the beginning because it's expensive. Monday's pretty expensive. But once you get to the point where your store is extremely profitable, it's absolutely worth the money. I'm going to be doing a video on that subject pretty soon because a lot of people are asking about that. But I would say, yeah, invest in that in the future, but start out with the spreadsheets.
Yeah, spreadsheets are great. I mean, especially if you're not doing, like you said in the beginning, if you're not doing that many sales or anything like that, you're starting off. You don't need all the robust softwares until you eventually, build up to it. I'm So Wealthy says, can you please do a training video on Slack? I could probably do one inside of the VA course. I do need to update it a bit, but that's definitely something that has become a major integral part of my relationship between my VAs, because it's just so easy to message them back and forth and everything's right there. I have my Slack for me, Jason, and everybody in Dropshipping University, us, what we're doing, my Slack for me and my VAs. There's a Slack I'm in, Mark Augustine from No BS Dropshipping. I'm in his Slack, just talk with him there and other things like that. Anybody that you want to be friends with and, you know, do business conversation, you can do it there. It doesn't have to be business conversation, but it's a lot easier to do that. So Kermel says, I only have 56 items in my store and like 45 of them are drop shipping. I didn't want to list many items until I learned suppliers and SKU grid. Now I feel that I'm ready to scale up and I need a VA. There you go. So just keep up, man. Like once you get your VA, everything's going to really take off. And then somebody, Christian says, I recall you mentioning using if that, this, then that, or whatever that IFTT stands for, or Zapier to automate some things. How are you using those tools? Message me on Facebook. That's too in-depth of a question for the live. Robert Lagoon says, hi, Tom. I am a VA currently with a client from Texas. We are using SKU Grid. I always watch your videos, and I'm learning more regarding dropshipping as a VA. Thank you for your information. Hey, that's awesome. That's the first time a VA has ever come on the live.
I thought that was extremely cool when I saw that one.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Keep it up. I mean, the more you learn, the better of a VA you'll be, honestly. Like my VAs, I feel like are so valuable now because I've taught them so much, and maybe their market value goes up because they can say that they worked for me. But I mean, it's just cool just to see, you know, VAs actually, if you have a dedicated VA, they will be going out there and trying to learn as much as possible. Like the first time I ever hired a VA from Facebook that had messaged me on Facebook was like, Tom, they first came to me asking for help. They were like, hey, Tom, I'm having trouble. The person that hired me isn't really giving me much instructions on what to do. They're trying to have me figure it out myself, but I don't really know what to do because they want me to run their whole store. Like, what should I do? Where should I start? I go, well, just the fact that you reached out to me like shows that you actually care, but you just don't really have the right guidance. I go, how about I hire you instead? She's like, okay. I just hired her and she stopped working for who she was working for. She's been with me ever since. So
that's awesome.
She's really good at what she does. So, so where are we? Hey, Tom. Kermel says, are you thinking of launching a VA course offer of $50 off to existing students in the future? Check the link in the description. It's literally $50 off right now. And you'll be able to get it. It's literally 50 off. VA is the code that you put in at checkout. So there you go. Christian says, awesome advice on setting up SKU Grid or applying mass changes to anything, Tom. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Tom, do you need an LLC to set up agreements with wholesalers? To set up agreements with legitimate wholesalers, yes, you're going to need some form of business, like an LLC, or at least have your EIN number. But most of the time, you'll probably, just eventually want an LLC of some sort and then talk to a tax professional after that. But in order to get the agreements with the wholesalers, yes. Wholesale Direct says my store is over $100 a month. Well, cost wise. Yeah, you might have a premium store. Besides that, yes, you're gonna probably be under $100 a month if you don't have a premium store. Would you task a VA with order fulfillment and customer service? You asked this last time. I don't know what the big stink is about here. As in having them handle both of those jobs. Why and why not? I don't think it matters whatsoever. If your VA can handle orders and handle customer service, there you go. It's probably almost better because they can order the items or see if somebody messaged them for a cancellation and then order afterwards, something like that. Because I do have that little bit of an issue with my VAs, but it's really not, it's almost never run into any problems. But what's your opinion on that, Jeff?
I actually do that, and I would not change it. I want the same VA fulfilling orders and dealing with customer service because I want them to remember conversations, be able to connect the dots and see what's going on with people. So yeah, I'm actually don't have any plans of separating those tasks out between separate VAs ever.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I just don't do it. I could do it in the future, maybe I will. Miguel says, do you still source items yourself? Personally, I'll go in there and just if I see something when I'm doing research, I'll just add the item number to a spreadsheet and just tell my VA to look it up and connect the dots and do everything else with it. When I was listing items onto Amazon yesterday, I started coming across a bunch of other good items to list on Amazon. So I just threw the ASIN numbers in the spreadsheet and just made my VA fill out the rest of it. That's the extent of my item sourcing. And I know you said you still source some items sometimes, right, Joe?
Yeah, or I'll find I don't do what I used to do. I used to sit and fill out these spreadsheets with all the information. What I might do is if I run across somebody I'm interested in, I'll pull their username up in Zik, and I might just shoot that username to my VA and be like, hey, please check this guy's store, see if we can benefit from any of these items. That's about the extent of my sourcing.
Yeah, that's basically what I do as well. Or if it's a new supplier, then you can go in there and be like, all right, well, this guy's good, replicate it from there type of thing.
Yeah.
So from there, Carl Feldman says, do you move money out of your PayPal frequently? Honestly, I used to use this thing. It's called PayPal auto sweep. I believe you have to call them and get it activated. And that actually takes the money out of your account every night. But sometimes if it takes the money out of your account, then your VA needs to refund somebody. There's no way to take out just a certain amount. It takes out all of it. If your VA needs to refund somebody that night when they're working, then if they refund it, it has to go through your bank account, and it takes like 7 days to process. So it's kind of a pain, and that customer gets upset. So instead of doing that, I just, I take it out every once in a while. I mean, if it builds up like over 5K or whatever, I just take it out. So, I mean, that's what I do. So Ryan Stanfield asked the most common question out there. Honest question. Why sell a course if you're making so much money via dropshipping? Because first off, I want to help people, and I want to help people. If you pay, then you pay attention. That's been proven anywhere. If you give out free information out there, if I could put my entire course on YouTube and nobody would do it, the free eBay dropshipping course, the amount of people that watch it, they don't watch it or do anything. They just get it. They don't watch it. They leave it there. If you pay attention. Most people will give a lot more of an effort to something if they're financially invested in it than if it's just given to them for free. Secondly, I don't want my whole life just to be drop shipping. I mean, I have multiple stores on eBay. I have a pretty good going store on Amazon, but eventually you hit 100,000 in sales on each of them or anything like that. You build up to a point where you're like, I don't want any more problems here. There's customer service. There's always issues to be taken care of. It's not that you're just getting your account banned nonstop, but it just weighs on you. And why not just sell a course or give out valuable information to somebody else to help them change their life? I mean, Joe Cox has taken the course. He went from not knowing what's going on with eBay dropshipping to hitting $50,000 in months in sales. He probably wouldn't have done that very well or as quickly without the course or without my guidance or anything like that. Not saying that you wouldn't have been able to figure it out on your own. You can always figure something out on your own. Yes, a lot of the information is out there, but the whole point of a course, I believe, is to put everything in order and then logically give it to you step by step while explaining and showing you the inside of, my screen or my store or whatever to show you how to do it. Because I've taken a lot of courses where you sit there and they go, oh, just use Zik Analytics, great program to, source products with. And that's it. Yeah. But instead of just going in and showing you how to source products with Zik Analytics, will say, oh, you should use this program or use this program, or half their course is made by videos from their virtual assistant or something like that. Real half-assed courses, I'll tell you that. And that's the one thing I wanted to make sure did not happen with my courses. That's why it's 70 videos long and over 13 hours of content. Honestly, I wouldn't listen to myself talk for 13 hours, but I definitely turn it on 1.5 speed.
Dude, I listened to you talk for at least that long when I got the course. I did move up to 1.5 speed, but yeah, I did do that. Hey, I do want to say just kind of a little note on that question. Another thing about that is, like, when you're drop shipping, you're sitting behind a laptop all the time. Like, one of the reasons I got into the reason I have my YouTube channel is I want to interact with people.
That's true as well.
I want to talk to people that are doing the same thing I'm doing for a living, and I want to make friendships and relationships. You go to a normal job, to an office or whatever, and like there's people around you all the time. So like we don't want to just sit as hermits behind our laptops. We want to talk to people and help other people too. So like I can say I'm really glad you weren't just satisfied with just drop shipping, Tom, because there's no way I could have ever gotten my business to where it is without the course. I don't think it would have ever happened.
Yeah, and it's so rewarding. I mean, I appreciate that, first off. And it's so rewarding just seeing other people posting the results, or, oh, I can't believe this just happened. Oh, I just made $20 on that item. Somebody posted today, just made my first sale at like 30% profit margin or 36% profit margin or something. Like, it's awesome to see other people take what you teach and throw it, and actually do it themselves, take the action, jump in. Sure, there's a lot of people that will buy the course, sit there and not do anything with it, but I can't tell them or push them to do it. That's on you. I mean, the information's there. You just need to take the action and go with it and roll with it. And the people that do have been reaping great benefits. We've had many, many, many students break over $20,000 already in sales, a lot approaching the 30,000 mark, and a lot of people just starting, making their first sales in a couple days. So, I mean, if the information's there, if you take action, you'll reap the rewards. And manually eBay dropshipping is so new still that, like, there's still a lot of people that aren't doing it. Where are we? Do you track your VA's time? If so, how do you do it? A lot of my VAs are actually tracked, to salary, but some of them I do use it's Top Tracker, I believe it's called. She just sends me a screenshot of her time every single month or week, every other week, and that's how I pay her from there. What else? What are your thoughts on Mac Umbrella? I'm not going to answer that. Any info when eBay will allow multiple payment methods other than PayPal? eBay is too slow to roll out any of their things. I have no clue. Honestly, they've been talking about their eBay payments thing for forever. It just hasn't come to fruition. Yes, I think you said you have them do separate. I'm seeing a lot of stores getting banned lately that's saying that they're completely manual. They're asking for receipts. Any comment on that? Any store out there that has been getting banned is probably in the public Facebook groups and they're not following the rules. First off, they're definitely probably still using Amazon onto eBay. It's not going to work. Joe, didn't you start an experiment the other day trying to do a store like that? Do you want to explain what happened?
Yep, I sure did. I started a store in someone else's name who really didn't care about eBay and has no plans of ever using eBay. So, because I didn't want to get banned. Let me tell you what happened on that. It was strictly Amazon to eBay, and it was fully manual, okay? Fully manual. Amazon to eBay, and it was like the 8th day, MC011. And then, so I called in, tried everything in the world to try to get the store back, provided, they did ask for receipts. I was like, hey, I don't have receipts. We buy these, we usually just like go to places and buy with cash, stuff like that. And they didn't, that was fine at first. But then the next thing I know, the next email I got was a ban. That person is now banned from eBay forever. So it was a terrible experiment. Didn't go well. I tell people all the time, do not drop ship Amazon to eBay. There was no reason for that store to get flagged other than the fact that it was Amazon products.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people still doing it, getting their account banned, and then going, "Oh, why did it happen?" Blah 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 blah. And it's been out there. I've been talking about it for 7 months now. I've stopped doing Amazon to eBay for 7 months, but people resist change, and that seems to be the #1 issue. So I'm going to wrap up this live really quickly, answer the last few questions here, and here we go. So Christian says, how much are you guys paying your customer service VA? I pay mine $4 an hour. What about you?
Mine is currently at $3.25 an hour.
Wow.
But she has she also have a little bonus structure in place. When we hit a certain amount of sales each day, she gets a little extra.
Yeah, I mean that's a good way to go about it. You're all about the bonus structures for the VAs. I like it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it gives them a lot of incentive. It makes them work a lot harder in my experience.
It definitely does. Ryan says, sounds good, man. I may check out the course. I opened up an eBay store about 2 months ago, and I've done 6K so far. It isn't drop shipping, though. I have direct suppliers currently, so I have the inventory. Yeah, that's a pretty good start. Honestly, the best part about drop shipping is you can test the item out without having to buy it first. Obviously, once somebody buys it, you buy it, so you almost never lose money unless you mess up, and that's definitely the best part. So check it out. Course is $200 off for tonight only. For everybody else that's watching, everything's down in the link description below, and check it out. The VA course is also $50 off, so I think that's like 30-something% or something like that. So John Bender says, are you using your same real name, email, PayPal when you create a new account? Yes, everything's the same. Everything is literally the same. It's just a different email. You have to have a different email to make a new eBay account. That's it. Everything's the same. While waiting 30 days to close out the old flagged one. Yes, it doesn't link. They do link. The only thing is that it doesn't link in a way to get you flagged on your new one. eBay is going to treat every account as if they're innocent until proven guilty, and that's what it is. So if your new account comes up, doesn't break the rules, is strictly manual, you're good to go. If you connect software, do it again, then you're not so good to go. Where else are we? So Tom, you are a warrior when it comes to e-commerce and teaching it. You are a rare gem. You're much appreciated, and I look forward to also learning from Joe's success. Thank you very much, man. I mean, it means a lot to me, and these messages are really what keeps me going on YouTube and everything, because YouTube can be a strenuous activity. I can tell you that right now. Legault, I'm not answering any questions about what I think about other people. Hi, Tom. How do you deal with global shipping returns? I don't, because I don't do global shipping program. There's way too many issues, returns being the #1. If you get a return from Canada or wherever else and it's damaged, and you message eBay, a lot of the times they'll say, hey, yeah, it was our fault. It's a insurance policy, everything like that. You're good to go. But sometimes they'll say, hey, we need pictures of it. We need pictures of the box. What if you don't have pictures of the box? What if the person doesn't have a picture of the box? What if the customer doesn't respond to you? Anything like that. That's when it kind of gets put onto you, where you need to actually pay for that return. I'm not doing that. I've never done that. I've always found a way out of it, and then I just stopped doing global shipping program because honestly, it's just a pain. Do you do the GSP?
No.
Yeah, it's way too much hassle.
Yeah. I did it back in the days of thrifting and yard selling, and I hated it then. So I definitely
awful. I did it all last year naively, and then I got out of it. Then I put it back in, and I was like, oh yeah, not bad. Then I got screwed over again. I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done forever now.
Yeah.
So Pamela says, who gave a thumbs down? Punks. It's just punks out there. I'm telling you. We had 2 thumbs down on the video before it even started. So it's just haters, I would say. John says, thanks, Tom. And Christian is going to end this live with another question, as he did last time. And he says, you incentivize your customer service VA to work harder by getting a bonus if the company hits a goal that has nothing to do with the customer service position in the first place? Question mark. Is that what you said or no?
Okay, Christian, here's the deal, man. If you're
1,000 questions.
If your customer service is not excellent, your store is useless. You have to have excellent. Look, if you don't handle customer service like a champ, your store you'll lose your store. You cannot keep an eBay store without customer service. So yeah, my customer service VA gets an incentive to get a bonus as well, and I think it's one of the keys to our success, to be honest with you.
Great answer. I like it. I really do like it. So for everybody that's watching right now, I mean, please give us a thumbs up for me and Joe. I mean, Joe came on, took the time out of his day to come on this live and spread some of his knowledge. It's great to see a different point of view on this. You know, it's not just me spewing information at you guys nonstop. You got somebody else here to also spew information at you guys. So if you haven't liked it already, also please like and subscribe, like I said. And if you want to check it out, there is the link to the course discount. It's ending tonight at midnight down below. So check it out. If you want to get in. It's 40% off for right now. And it's, like I said earlier in the live, it's 71 videos long, I believe. It's over 13 hours of content. There's over 5 different Excel sheets pre-formatted for you guys to get started with your organization, profits, item sourcing, uploading into SKU Grid, customer service. There's also scripts for customer service. And there's the private Facebook group where you can talk with me and Joe personally every day. It's a great time. Do you have any last words here?
Man, thanks for having me again. I enjoyed talking to everybody. It's been a blast, and I appreciate it, Tom.
No problem, man. So thank you guys very much. I'll probably do a live next week, maybe. I don't think I'll do one at the end of this week. Might just be 2 more real YouTube videos, one on TrackerBot and possibly one on Amazon or something else. But we'll figure that out as we go. So thank you guys very much. Signing off. Have a good night.